There was a lady who wrote to the newspaper editor and said, why do you broadcast all these negative stories, even during Christmas time? Because in her head, Christmas time is when everything is full of joy and hope. There's no bad things that happen in this world. And it's really naive. Because we just saw the wonderful miracle of Christmas. And not too long after that, the reality of this world kicks in. Today I go into uncharted territory for me. This is the first time that I have given a message on the downside of Christmas. The downside when the reality of this world kicks in and we see some things that we go, wow, that is just awful. That's horrible. Life isn't just rainbows and butterflies and unicorns, and there's some tough things that happen in our world. And we don't want to lose track of the beauty of Christmas and the hope that it brings, but we need to talk about the realities of life. And in the middle of that, we need to get good sight of our foundation that gets us through these tough times. They give us that hope, to show us the future. So that's where we're going to go today. It comes from Matthew 2. And it's in your program. It'll be on the screen as well. But we talk about, first, the wise men and Herod. Well, let me give you a little story before we get to the bigger part of today. Matthew 2 is about the Magi, the wise men that come and visit Jesus. And this is a story that over and over, we hear it in Sunday school. We hear it even today. We talk about the Magi. And it doesn't say how long it was between Jesus being born in the manger and when these wise men came. It doesn't say how long. Chances are he was in a house by then. And it doesn't say where these wise men came from. It says that they were from the east. Maybe they came from further east, maybe out in the desert. Maybe they came from China. I don't know. Most likely they came from the Babylon area. There was a huge community of Jewish people there because that's where they were exiled to, and they knew about Jewish traditions. And they go, well, Numbers 24, this is from the words of Moses. It says, a star will come out of Jacob. A scepter will rise out of Israel. This whole idea of a star and a king. The king's scepter, and they were put together. They go together, and when they saw the star, well, we're going to follow this where it goes. So where do they go? They keep following this, and it comes over the Jerusalem area. It comes into Israel. So you go to the main city, which is Jerusalem. And you go talk with the main person who was King Herod. And they go to him and they say, well, where's this newborn king? We've come to worship him. Where is he? We saw his star. Because the star and the new king go together. And if you know anything about Herod from the Bible, you know that he is well known for his building projects. He helped rebuild the temple. It was a beautiful thing. And lots of building projects. Build it and you will be famous. You put your name on it. That was Herod's temple. And he was also known as a very ruthless person. Power hungry. Anything that threatened his hold on power, it had to go. It was 37 BC. He was confirmed the king of Judea by the Roman Senate. He's been ruling for over 30 years. He loves his power. He's just paranoid enough that he put to death people of his own family because he said, they're going to threaten my power. This is the King Herod. And now these people come in and say, hey, there's another king that's around here. Oh, yeah, you're the king of Judea, but there's a king coming. One that's been shown by a star. Well, we want to find out where he is. Do you happen to know? And you might have not known this, that Herod wasn't Jewish. So he had no idea that there's a king? There's a star and a king that go together, and it comes to Judea area. I don't know these things. So he gathers all of his wise people so they can tell him, tell me about this star and about this king, this coming king, this Messiah type person who's going to set everything right. So, yeah, we get that. And Herod says, all right, tell you what. It's going to be in Bethlehem. And he tells them this, go to Bethlehem and search carefully for this child. You know, it's like a wink type of thing, and I'll go worship him too. But you know that it's not that. He's going to, if we find this guy, if Jerusalem and Bethlehem are 5 miles apart, if these guys find, oh yeah, we've got the king, oh we worshipped him, 5 minutes later, all these troops are going as well. You know, there was this king and the star, and that was the story. And these wise men come to I thought we would have this manger out here. They came and they worshiped the king. That Jesus was born the king. And this is the intermission part of, if you go to a play or a musical, this is kind of the intermission. Oh, it was a great story. The first half was wonderful. Jesus was born. We had wise men, they came, they followed the star, and they worshiped. And there's this little tension that's still in the story. There's a story at intermission time that you say, well, how is this going to work out? Because Herod, this power-hungry guy, is not going to stand by that this story unfolds. There's this tension in the intermission. That how is Jesus, the king, how is he going to keep going and Herod, how are they going to coexist? The story goes from worshiping to weeping in just a matter of snap of a finger. Let me read it to you. Matthew 2, verses 13 to 16. After the wise men were gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. Get up, flee to Egypt, and the child and his mother. The angel said, stay there until I tell you to return, because Herod is going to search for the child to kill him. That night Joseph left for Egypt with the child and Mary, his mother, and they stayed there until Herod's death. This fulfilled what the Lord had spoken through the prophet. I called my son out of Egypt. There we go. Shouldn't it stop right there, right? But it doesn't. Herod was furious when he realized that the wise men had outwitted him. He sent soldiers to kill all the boys in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old and under, based on the wise men's report of the star's first appearance. Just imagine a second. You are a first century Christian. You know, it's maybe 60 AD. You are a Christian now, and you celebrate Christmas holidays, Christmas. And you come up to someone and you're saying, oh, we are celebrating Christmas. It's Christmas. And all of a sudden the conversation just twists. And these people start yelling at you. And you're saying, whoa, we're just celebrating Christmas. And out of their mouths comes some anger at you. It's because of your Jesus that my son is dead. You say, what are you talking about? Christmas is just a reminder how Herod's thugs came into my town, Bethlehem, and killed my son because Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Can you imagine how that might play out? You know, chances are there was in between 7 and 20 babies in Bethlehem that were 2 years old and young. It was a small town. Maybe it was packed full of people for a holiday. so that they went to the surrounding area, maybe 100 babies, but still, maybe 100 families would say, because of Jesus being born here, my son is dead. It's a biblical fact that this happened. It's written in history books, not even in the Bible. There's other history books of the time that say this is what happened. There's grieving parents that were angry and filled with pain at this evil. And we need to grab a hold of this, that there's two things that happen out of this. One is that God's plan will not be thwarted. His plan goes forward. Jesus came for His people to make them right before God. And not anybody, not Herod, not his thugs is going to get in the way. That was one thing that happened. And the other thing is that we need to grab a hold of is the reality that evil things happen. Evil things, bad things. This is a reality in our world. Insecure, power-hungry King Herod isn't so sure that he won't be deposed and have someone take his place. And he's been king too long to let some other person be king. So he thinks, well, maybe if I kill all the baby boys 2 years old and younger, then I'll be safe. How do we make sense of this evil? How do we make sense of this? Because that's the reality. How do we grab a hold of this? A couple years ago, my family and I, we went to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. And if you have been there, you're saying, wow, what a museum. And I was enjoying it for at least the first 45 minutes. It was like the historical part of it. There was pictures. I was learning all these things. And all of a sudden, they wanted to make it real for me. We walk around one of these corners, and we see off to the side, there's a train car. And the door's open. There's no people there, so it was like people had just all of a sudden vanished because there's luggage just stacked right on the platform. It was like a real life-size boxcar. And then we just kept walking a little bit, and we walked into a kind of a storage shed area. And it was like they just emptied out all the luggage. They took the clothes and they put that over there. They took shoes. There's a stack of 15 feet high shoes. And they just stacked the luggage up. And it was a grim reminder of just the reality of evil that is in our world. And I won't forget that for as long as I live, okay, now it's real. Now I understand the reality of the evil that was there. You know, it was the idea that the people that were on that boxcar either went to the forced labor camp or they went to the ovens. That was the reality of evil. And how do we make sense of that? It's as much a reality as Bethlehem, and these babies got just killed. And the good news of Jesus, it doesn't diminish that, but it's the reality. How do we deal with that? Because the way we choose to believe of this, and how do we make sense of this, matters. Our choices matter when we start thinking of evil. We look forward to the new year. How are we going to go forward and see the reality of evil in our world? How do we see that? It's difficult for me to hear people talk about evil kind of emotionally detached. Like you go to a funeral or you hear of a story, someone's had some bad things happen and they go, oh yeah, there must have been a reason for that. You know, this tornado just ripped through their town and how many people died and people lost their homes and their livelihood. There must have been a reason. Not sure what that reason was, but there must have been one. A number of years ago, someone gave me 7 possible reasons for evil or bad things in our world. And they were biblically based. Here's 7 possible reasons why bad things happen. And I think I put them in the program, and you can keep those. I thought they were pretty good. It helped me understand, at least intellectually, how to understand some of the things that happen in our world. Some things happen, and God is trying to draw us back to Him. Hey, you're living like you're independent of me. I want to get your attention here that I should be center. Or maybe God has got this plan. It's a longer plan that right now it's tough, but I want you to minister to some people. I want you to have compassion for them. That down the road, you're going to use this moment and you are going to make a difference in someone's life because you have gone through all of this. Sometimes those are the reasons. I never grab a hold of just one and say, oh, this is exactly what God's trying to do in this tough time. I default usually down to number 7 more often than not. Hey, I'm not sure. I don't know what God's doing here. But I got to trust Him on this one. So often we need to grab a hold of this reality of evil in our world. And we're going to get down to this part of it. We're going to leave the doors sometime soon. Maybe you get some coffee, maybe you'll talk with some other people, but we're leaving the doors of the church sometime today. Will you choose to trust in our God that works through even the tough times? Will you choose to trust our God even in those tough times, in the face of evil? You have people in your world that are looking for hope, the hope that you have. Your first choice today, my heart opens up and says, oh, do you trust that there is a God who loves you and wants to be in a relationship with you? That's my hope, that you get down to that. But there's some people that are going to go the totally opposite direction and say, all this stuff, I'm throwing it to the side. There's no such thing as a loving God. Or else there wouldn't be this evil stuff. There can't be a God. And for them, I have to admit this. It might be more simple for them. And some of you are saying, what? How could that be? Well, if there's no God, then it's just random chance. Bad things happen. You got a bad lot in life. You don't have any good luck. There's no one to blame. It's just the way things are. But if you do believe that there is a God who loves you, that has said, I love you, I've got a plan for your life, I want to live in relationship with you, then it becomes difficult in the face of evil. Then there's often the time of us saying, God, where were you? You abandoned us. God, where are you? Are you at the cause of this? What are you doing here? Because this is pain. And we start blaming. We start accusing. Because there's pain in our hearts because there's a relationship with an almighty God. My hope is that your first choice is one of your will to say, all right, I trust in my God. I trusted Him before I got to the tough times. Because then I don't have to make up my mind in the middle of the tough times whether I'm going to trust Him or not. I've already trusted Him. Wherever you're going, whatever your will is for my life, I'm going to still keep my eyes on you. My hope is that it's a matter of your will today before you leave the doors. In the face of evil, we need to choose. Are we going to trust our God who, in the face of evil, still holds us and says, I have a great plan for you still. I will walk with you. I will be Emmanuel, God with us. And I will walk through this evil with you, and I will give you the strength to make a great difference with whatever you're going through. It was Christmas, 1863. The Civil War was in full swing. And the Battle of Gettysburg, it was like 6 months ago. You know, there were brothers facing off against each other. There were sons and fathers fighting each other. And in the middle of this, there was a poet. His name was Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and he wrote a poem. It was called The Christmas Bells. And if you know poetry, you're saying, man, I kind of know that one. Maybe you heard it in high school. And it starts off like this. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill towards men. You're saying, oh, that's a great start to a poem. The Christmas bells ringing, telling people about Jesus. But then Longfellow kind of sees the reality that's around him. The reality of a civil war that is not civil. It's actually an evil thing. Thousands and thousands of people are just dying. And he writes this. And in despair I bowed my head. There is no place on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill towards men. There's the reality of evil, of tough times, of bad things that are happening. How can we find any good news in the face of this evil? Is there anything we can grab a hold to as a foundation in the middle of these storms? And Wadsworth Longfellow chooses there, just not to stay there in the middle of this despair. He goes forward. He says this, and this is the last part of the poem. Then pealed the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill towards men. Evil happens. As much as Herod and his thugs happened, as much as wars in our world happen, as much as destructive elements of nature threaten our existence, bad things happen. Evil happens. And one day we will fully understand the reasons and how God transforms the evil in our world, these bad things, for our good, to help us grow in our faith or to draw us closer or whatever His plan is. One day we'll more fully understand Romans 8:28, where he says, we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. One day we'll fully understand how our only comfort in life and in death is that I belong, body and soul, in life and in death, to my faithful Savior, Jesus Christ. What will you choose today? Is that your comfort? Is that your foundation when you see evil happening? Even in the dark, troubled down times, choose to trust in our God who is with us. God with us, our Emmanuel. Trust our Jesus who has come for His people. Now pray with me. Jesus, the song of the angels is stilled. The star in the sky is gone. The kings and the princes are back home. The shepherds are back with their flocks. And you are still with us. Because you are with us even in the toughest times. And we ask your help to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to visit the prisoners, to rebuild relationships. And Jesus, we look to you to bring peace to our world, that there might be peace on earth and goodwill to all men. We praise your name, Jesus, and we thank you. Amen.